All right, now to someone who knows the Middle East and its predilection for endless wars extremely well. Australian journalist Michael Ware has worked for CNN, Time magazine and is a freelancer on the ground based in Baghdad. He joins us from our Sky News studio in Brisbane. Thank you for your time, Michael.
It's my pleasure, Chris.
Good to talk with you again. Does any of this surprise you? It's been brewing for a while. They've been calling each other bad names for quite some time.
Well, look, firstly, there's a broader historical context to consider here. We need to understand and constantly remind ourselves that the United States of America and Iran have been at war since 1979 with the Iranian Revolution, when the American-backed ruler was overthrown and a religious theocracy, a religious government was put in place. Now, and if you remember, that's when the US Embassy was overrun and dozens of diplomats and Marines were held hostage for almost a year.
That's right.
Then in 1983, the Iranians blow up the Marine barracks at the Beirut Embassy, killing hundreds. They also tried to blow up the embassy in Kuwait. There was plane hijackings. I mean, this has been going ever since 1979. And if you recall, in 2003, when we of the West went in and invaded Iraq, so too did Iran. And the US military openly admits that over the course of the 10 years of the American occupation, or the Iraq War, the Iranians killed over 600 American soldiers. And Iran owns Iraq. And Iran is basically running Syria. Iran runs Hezbollah, who is the greatest threat to Israel. So this has been a dire escalation. We still have to hold our breaths, Chris, but we have been on the edge of a very dangerous precipice for these past 5 days. I'm not quite yet ready to breathe, but I'm starting to feel a little bit safer.
Do you agree with Malcolm Davis when he says that those missile attacks were deliberately misses?
Well, on the American bases,
yeah.
Well, that's quite possible, because let's not forget the Iranian government said that this was a proportionate response. And in some ways it was. Look, today turned on whether the Iranians ended up killing any American troops or Western troops, including Aussies. Thankfully, they didn't. Now, is that because the Iranians missed? Let's not forget 4 of the ballistic missiles failed in flight. Or was that because of our force protection measures? Now remember, ever since our assassination of the Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, we have stopped fighting the Islamic State. And we have just gone into protection mode. So the US forces and the Western forces there were sitting probably all but bunkered down and waiting and watching. So the early warning systems here definitely worked and protected the troops. So was it a result of Iranian messaging that nobody died, or was it a result of our force protection measures? At this stage, it's impossible to know.
OK, without being a scaremonger, do you think the downing of that plane, the Ukrainian Airlines plane, had anything to do with the confrontation going on between the United States and Iran? Could it have been an attempt to take down an American plane, an American Airlines plane out of Tehran, or a plane that may have been presumed to contain Americans?
Well, there are no planes that I'm aware, American planes that I'm aware of, that are flying in and out of Tehran. So my first gut instinct after, over a decade in the Middle East is that this was a probably poorly maintained Ukrainian Airlines flight. And it just seems to me, my gut says that it's coincidental. Look, I don't think the downing of an aircraft is the worst potential consequence of our assassination of Soleimani. I think there are a lot of other things that could get a lot worse if we're not careful. Let's not forget, these guys, it's just going to take one miscalculation from a nervous commander of an anti-aircraft battery who shoots down an American plane or something similar, and this whole thing turns to flame.
Okay, but how turns... Are you saying nuclear here? Are you suggesting that would be an Iranian option, a serious option?
Well, no, I'm not saying that, but you've brought up a great point. I fear that the most dread consequence of our assassination of Soleimani is that we are going to find out what we've always wondered. How far away are the Iranians from developing a nuclear weapon? The argument amongst analysts has been anything from 1 year to 3 years, because now, 5 days ago, they literally tore up the agreement to denuclearise and threw it in the bin.
Yep.
Now, President Trump had walked away from that agreement, but Europe hadn't. And the Iranians had not walked away from it. So as it stands now, as of last Friday night, Iran has virtually announced that it's renewed its program to develop a nuclear weapon. And let's just hope they weren't closer to that weapon than we feared. That is my great dread.
Okay.
That's the final outcome that we're going to learn.
All right, if Trump retaliates on the retaliation, I get the feeling that the Iranians, and you would know better than any of us, I get the feeling the Iranians would not like to lose face in front of their population, and they will retaliate once again.
Oh, of course. This could escalate in so many ways. Now, I'd like to think to my gut that President Trump will not further escalate this situation. I think if you read the nature of his tweet, it was, through President Trump's tweet, surprisingly muted. I also happen to know that one of the men in the room with President Trump personally, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark A. Milley, I've known him since 2004. We were in war together. Now, he's a soldier's soldier, but he is a very smart and very calculating man, and he knows exactly how quickly and wildly this situation could escalate. So the war, or the contest for influence between America and Iran, is absolutely going to continue. But I'd like to think that President Trump will not further react to this Iranian strike, because let's not remember, days ago the Iranians said, we're going to strike back and then that'll be it. And as long as America doesn't continue the cycle of retaliation, we'll be done. And their foreign minister said the exact same thing today.
Yeah.
Our cycle of retaliation is concluded. So the ball right now really is in President Trump's court.
Yeah.
So let's see what he does with it.
And in the meantime, we've got a young woman, an Australian academic, still being held in Iran. And I would have thought as tensions increase, her likelihood of being released and sent back to Australia is being reduced by the day.
Well, it's prescient that you say that, Chris, because the instant I learnt about the drone strike that killed General Soleimani, I immediately thought of that Melbourne academic.
Yeah.
Any chances that we had, any hopes, any vague wishes that we had of getting her out, anything like the short term, I think, has evaporated.
Yeah, let's hope we're wrong.
I think this has certainly sealed her fate.
Michael Ware, thank you very much for that excellent insight.
Thank you, Chris.
Good to have you on the program once again.